So all these spheres that are buzzing around Earth are most likely remnants of an ancient planetary defense system that some civilization created to protect us from off-world entities and extraterrestrials. But that civilization that created it, probably the Atlanteans, is no longer here in mass, but we still have this defense system. We still have these spheres that are buzzing all around our Earth. And I'll show you some startling evidence in this video that'll really make you think way differently about the history of humans, about our place in the cosmos, and about what's really going on between this battle of good and evil, this battle of ET races, where humans fit into this whole weird puzzle. I'm Jordan, live and kicking. Hope you're doing amazing today. So this picture right here is outside of the Vatican. The Vatican, and we already know they're not telling us everything they know, obviously. But why do they have this gigantic sculpture of this sphere, this ominous looking sphere outside the Vatican? Okay, well, it's not just at the Vatican. After the Vatican commissioned the artist to make this sphere, they made a whole bunch more and put them at the United Nations headquarters, put them at all sorts of universities around the world. These things are around the world. Now, you could just say this is art, right? Okay, but let's get into the spheres here. Not only do we have a sphere, there's a famous Betts sphere. The Betts family in Florida was out looking at this brush fire, and they found this sphere in a field, and there's been several others found. And this sphere, they took it home, and the dad, like a few days later, was playing guitar, and the sphere started moving on its own, and it started vibrating and making this humming noise to the guitar. And he was like, whoa, this thing is interacting with not only us, but with the sound, right? And this sphere has been studied by big names, Gary Nolan and others, and they don't think it has any on-world, or they don't think it has any human explanation, okay? So on top of that, we have things like the Mosul orb, which is a military satellite photograph of this metallic orb that is flying over Mosul, Iraq during wartime. So it tracked it. This is just a still shot, but the satellite actually tracked this orb floating all around. And no propulsion, no heat signature, no anything. Now, on top of that, we have reports of these orbs at nuclear bases, shutting down nuclear silos, turning nuclear missiles offline, doing all sorts of weird, crazy things that no one can stop and no one can control. Then, going back to, like, say, the World War I and II times, we had what were called Foo Fighters. And Foo Fighters was essentially these orbs that were harassing our airplanes, basically. They didn't know what they were. They all thought it was Nazi technology. They thought it was Russian technology. No one knew what it was because they couldn't explain it. But there were these orbs that were just buzzing airplanes right and left, right? And driving people crazy. There's tons of reports of these orbs, and no one could explain it. They never did anything nefarious. They never downed a plane or hurt anybody, but they were everywhere, okay? And even today, if you start analyzing photographs of UFOs, right? And of space shuttles and of rocket launches and all this stuff. Usually when you see a picture of a UFO, you just focus on the UFO. You're like, that's a UFO. I don't care about anything else in the picture. But when you actually go and look at old pictures of UFOs, you start seeing dots all around the UFOs. You start seeing these orbs everywhere. But no one was noticing them in the past because, like I said, if you see a picture of a UFO, you just look at the UFO. If you see a flying saucer, you're looking at the flying saucer. You're not noticing these little balls around it, right? Well, the orbs are everywhere. So what are these orbs? They are buzzing all around our Earth at all times, right? Tons, thousands of reports of them, thousands of photographs of them. What are they? Well, there's a dude named Patrick Jackson, really cool guy in England and or Ireland, England or Ireland. He has a weird accent. Anyways, he is a computer programmer. He's an IT specialist, and his specialty is like decoding systems and reverse engineering things and figuring out how systems work and that kind of stuff. He's in IT. So he started seeing these orbs over in, I think it's England, and he started looking into it and trying to figure out, okay, what are these things? And he found out all these links between the orbs and like paranormal things happening, haunted houses, ghosts, and that kind of stuff. And he was able to, I mean, he deep dived on this for years, wrote a book, and for a while, no one cared about him. I've been talking about him for a while now. Now he's starting to kind of hit mainstream because people are really starting to look into these orbs. I mean, the freaking Pentagon released that Mosul orb satellite picture, and no one can explain it, okay? And they just kind of glossed over it. They're getting us ready for this. What he was able to deduce through his intense research is that this is a global defense system, because what's happening, and we have lots of reports of this too, is when there's a UFO that say is not supposed to be here, they circle it and they either run it off or they shoot it down. And now I've had a lot of people ask me when we talk about downed UFOs and stuff, they're like, how can these UFOs fly millions of light years or whatever through the universe, traverse this crazy vast distances, then get to Earth and just crash. Like, it doesn't make any sense if they're so advanced. Well, it seems like we have a security system here on Earth that is literally shooting down these UFOs, okay? Now that would explain the crash craft. It would also explain all these pictures showing all these orbs around the UFOs. So Patrick Jackson goes into great detail about how these work. There's a relay system, they triangulate. There's a type 1, type 2, and type 3 spheres. They all are in different levels of the atmosphere. The type 1s actually hide in like houses and forests and stuff like that. Whenever they have to activate to communicate with the other spheres, it puts out this radiation, and that's why they do paranormal effects to get people to clear out of spaces. That's why houses become haunted, doors start opening and closing, and plates fall off of the walls and things like that don't make any sense. Like, why would a deceased ghost do that? It's their way of getting humans out of the way so they don't get hurt by the radiation, right? It's a protection for us, because it seems like these things here are here to protect us, to protect Earth, but we didn't put them here. So where did they come from? All arrows point to Atlantean technology, that this is remnants of like how we have satellites in space, right? And submarines in the ocean. I say something happened to us and we were wiped out. All humans were killed and wiped out. Some species, 10,000 years from now, will come to Earth and find our satellites floating through space. They'll find our submarines, nuclear powered subs, floating around the ocean. They'll find remnants of us, right? But we won't be here. So I think that these spheres are remnants of a previous ancient advanced human type civilization that had these things here to protect them from extraterrestrials, from the bad guys, okay? And they're still here, they're still operating. Some of them fall out of the sky, literally, because they're probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old, like the Betz sphere. And there's been other people that have found these spheres, and we think that there's quite a few of them that are in government hands. So knowing all this, what does this tell us about everything? I love stories like this because it's blatantly obvious to anybody who opens their eyes that there's so much more to our history that we're not told. Humans go back way longer. There was multiple advanced human type civilizations on Earth before us. Technology is not new. It's very, very old. And there's repeating cataclysms and things like that, and also species that just kind of outgrow this planet and move on, but leave their stuff behind. That's what we're finding with all the ancient temples and ancient civilizations and monoliths and all this kind of stuff, is these weren't hunter-gatherers. A lot of these people were extremely advanced. That's why they put their stuff in stone, carved things in stone, like tablets, not because they didn't have computers, but because they know that after cataclysm stuff, computers will be gone, but stone tablets last forever. Anyways, I think that these types of technologies are remnants of these past civilizations, and it proves and shows that not only does our human story go back way longer, but also that there are things out there in the universe that obviously these other people that were way more advanced than us were protecting themselves from. You know what I mean? Like, it's not this whole Stephen Greer thing where like all aliens are happy aliens. No, it's just not nature. Even if you're advanced doesn't mean you're going to be benevolent, and you might not even be malevolent, but you might just want something that someone else has. Like when we go in and tear down forest, the deer think we're evil. We're not out to get the deer. We just want the forest, right? So it shows that there's more to the story, and also shows that the ones before us that were super duper advanced were protecting themselves and this entire planet from something. And it seems like that is still out there, still fighting for us and still protecting us. And that is wild, right? Isn't that cool? So it's cool to know that. But also, what are they protecting us from? And why does the Vatican have a gigantic sculpture of it? And what is going on? Let me know. What do you guys think in the comments? Have a beautiful day. Peace.